Some nights feel colder than they should. Some eyes linger too long. Some shadows refuse to leave. Tonight you're about to witness three terrifying true-style horror stories told from the dim corners of rooftop bars, suburban diners, and haunted booths that remember too well. From a man who knew Sophia's name without ever meeting her, to a couple that died 4 decades ago but still waits for their dessert. These stories remind us, sometimes the scariest ghosts are the ones you accidentally invite in. Welcome to Nightmare Narratives. Make sure the lights are off. And whatever you do, don't look behind you. She couldn't remember the last time she genuinely laughed. Maybe it was that afternoon a month ago when Ron, her now ex-boyfriend, was still making her mint tea in the mug she always joked looked like it belonged to someone's grandfather. After a year, they broke up, not because of betrayal, but because the silence between them had gradually thickened, like the October fog in northern towns. That evening, Boston was damp. The water stains under the streetlights made her feel like she was walking through a surrealist painting. She pulled her long coat tighter and stepped into Stark's bar, a shabby but quiet place where the two of them once burst out laughing over a missed pool shot. But tonight, she was alone, truly alone. He approached just as she was about to lift the cue stick. "Need a partner?" he asked. His voice was deep, smooth like velvet, but there was something cold about it. She glanced at him. He looked around 25 or 26, tall, with tousled brown hair like he'd just taken off a cap, his eyes obscured by glasses fogged slightly with condensation. "Sure," she said. "Are you any good?" "Just good enough to lose to you," he smiled. They played 4 games. He wasn't great, but never seemed flustered. In fact, every move of his was intentionally slow, as if he were measuring her reactions more than aiming at the balls. He asked about her interests, music, and books. When she said she liked horror novels, he asked, "Stephen King or Clive Barker?" "King," she replied, "because he turns the most ordinary things into nightmares." He just smiled, lips pressed tight, no teeth showing. "Want to come to my place? Keep playing?" he asked. His tone suddenly shifted, light, almost like the breeze before a storm. She froze, not at the question, but the look in his eyes. They were no longer calm. They were hollow. Not human eyes, but those of something merely wearing a human face. "No thanks," she replied with a soft laugh, trying to sound casual. "You'll need to win a few more games first." His face distorted slightly, like a reflection warped in a fogged-up mirror. The smile vanished. His eyes hardened. "Are you serious?" he asked, stepping closer. She stepped back. He grabbed her wrist tight. His fingers were icy, clamping down like steel wires. Before she could react, an old man at the corner of the bar yelled, "Let her go!" He hesitated, muttered a curse under his breath, then yanked her handbag. 2 other men from a nearby table stood up. One pulled her back. The other shouted, "Let go!" "We're calling the cops." He tossed the bag onto the pool table and dashed out the door. She stood frozen, as if turned to stone. On the way home, she flagged down a yellow cab. The driver, a kind-faced middle-aged black man, only said, "Where to, miss?" "Back Bay, near Copley," she croaked. She got home safely. Or so she thought. As she fumbled for her keys, she instinctively pulled out her phone. A notification appeared. "An AirTag that doesn't belong to you is moving with you." She froze. Her blood went cold. Hands trembling, she searched her bag. There it was. A small white coin-sized plastic disc, an AirTag. He must have slipped it in when he grabbed her bag. What followed felt like a nightmare. She threw it to the floor and stomped on it. Once, twice. until it shattered like an eggshell. Her heart was pounding. Outside, the wind howled through the old window frames. She locked herself inside with 3 bolts, tried turning on Netflix to calm down. But then, through the window, she saw it, a silver-gray Lincoln gliding past. Its headlights painted her wall like bleeding streaks. She gasped. The car circled again, slower this time, almost crawling over the pavement. A third time, it stopped, right outside her house. Then she saw it. The driver's left hand emerged, holding something sharp. The streetlight glinted off it. A knife. She dropped to the floor, crawled into the corner beneath the window. She held her breath like holding water in cupped palms. Her heartbeat thudded so hard she felt it shake the floor. The car didn't move for 10 minutes. Then, silence. And then, it vanished. She waited an hour. No sounds, no lights. The next morning, she told her parents. Her father was furious. Her mother cried. They called a family friend. He was a police chief. He said, "No plates, no cameras, nothing we can act on, no evidence, no suspect, only fear." That night she didn't sleep. She heard the soft crunch of tires, or maybe it was just her mind. But what haunted her wasn't the act of being followed. It was the feeling that she was still being followed, that the man never left, that every time she stepped outside, those eyes were still watching. From inside a car, behind a tree, at the end of an alley, or from behind the glass of her second-floor window. Sophia never thought she'd get used to the feeling, that moment when a normal night suddenly turns wrong. As a seasoned bartender at a luxury rooftop bar where she served cocktails to impeccably dressed souls with empty eyes, Sophia had learned to spot the unusual ones. They didn't have to speak. They didn't have to move. She could feel it, like a sudden gust of cold wind across the nape of her neck in the middle of summer. And that night, he walked in, carried by that same chill. He stopped right at the doorway. Gaunt face, drenched black hair like he'd walked through a storm, a worn-out leather jacket dyed by smoke and time. He didn't look like the regular patrons. No cologne, no watch, none of that feigned confidence. He carried only one thing: hatred. He walked straight to the bar, ignoring everyone in the room. His eyes locked onto Sophia's, sharp, unwavering, like a pin stabbing through flesh. "Double Jaeger," he rasped, a voice mixed with hunger and threat. She nodded, poured the drink, her hand trembling slightly, not out of fear, but because something in his eyes reminded her of cornered animals about to lash out. She placed the glass in front of him and turned to leave, when he suddenly said, "I know you're here, Sophia." His eyes didn't blink, like he was staring into a mirror inside her mind. Sophia froze. She didn't recognize him. "You've got the wrong person," she replied, trying to keep her voice calm. "I know what you did." He downed the drink in one gulp, stood, and left, like a nightmare brushing past, leaving only the stench of death behind. Her shift ended near 2 a.m. Sophia drove back to her small apartment in a suspiciously silent building complex. Everything seemed fine. She double-locked the door, turned on the living room lights, and played soft music. But something still felt stuck in her chest. She dozed off on the couch. 3:12 a.m. She woke with the distinct feeling of being watched. No sounds, no breeze. But the air smelled wrong, metallic, rusty. Or was it blood? She turned her head slowly, and she saw him. In the corner of the room, next to the shoe cabinet, a figure stood still. No breathing, no movement, just standing, as if he had been there all night. Sophia couldn't scream. Her throat closed, clutched tight by invisible hands. He wore a hood. Only the bedside lamp cast a dim glow on half his face, and it was him. The man from the bar. He said nothing, didn't move closer, just watched. In seconds that stretched into centuries, Sophia truly believed she would die. But then survival kicked in. She bolted from the couch, stepped on a broken glass, blood burst from her foot, but she felt nothing except pure terror. He flinched and ran, swift as a gust of night wind. The door slammed open. Sophia gave chase, but he was gone. She returned, lights still on, no sign of forced entry. Then she saw it, a knife on the floor near where he stood. One of her kitchen knives, but honed to a surgical edge. The tip was stained with a reddish-brown streak, rust, maybe, or something else. Sophia trembled as she picked up her phone and dialed 911. Her voice was barely coherent between sobs and panic. Police arrived in 10 minutes. They checked every lock, every corner. No signs of forced entry, no signs of a break-in. The question was, how did he get in? Sophia told them about the bar encounter. The police requested surveillance footage from her workplace. The video was grainy, but clear enough. He stood across from her, spoke, then walked away. But here's the strange part. No one knew who he was. No records, no transaction, no fingerprints on the glass. And the glass itself? It vanished by the end of the night. Most disturbing of all, no one saw him leave through the main entrance. The police said they would investigate. Nothing came of it. Sophia stopped sleeping. She began hearing strange sounds, footsteps at exactly 2:47 a.m., the kitchen faucet turning on when she sat only feet away. One night she found her bedroom window slightly ajar, though she swore it had been locked. He hadn't broken in. He never left. She moved, changed the locks, stayed temporarily at a friend's house, and then, 1 week later, while packing, she opened a drawer in her desk. Inside was a small note, written in red ink. "I don't need a door to enter. I just need a crack in memory, a crack in the mind." The police never caught him. No images, no prints, no name, only fear, like a long shadow dragging behind Sophia every time the lights went out. She knows he's not gone, because every night she still feels breath on the back of her neck. And in every nightmare, there's always a man standing silently in the dark, knife in hand, smiling, and eyes that hold nothing. James didn't believe in ghosts, at least not before he met them. Working the night shift as a bartender at a suburban bar restaurant outside Baltimore, he'd grown used to all kinds of weird, drunks, fights, once even a guy vomiting across the counter. But what happened that night wasn't like anything he'd ever experienced. The bar sat in the middle of the old downtown district, built from red brick with the heavy wooden doors, and classic jazz always humming from ceiling speakers. Weekends were usually packed, but that night, Friday with a light rain, only a few tables were taken. Dim lights flickered on glassware like glowing spirits. James was mixing a gin and tonic when they walked in. They arrived quietly, a frail elderly couple. The man wore a faded silver-gray suit, the woman a floral shawl with a vintage pattern. Both were ghostly pale, eyes sunken, still as if they didn't belong to this time. They chose the darkest booth in the room, booth 12, by the frosted window no one liked. Customers always complained it was too cold, too gloomy. No one ever sat there, except them. James glanced up, then returned to his work. But when he looked again, something struck him. They hadn't ordered anything. No one had handed them a menu. They hadn't waved or spoken. They just sat there and stared at the wall. 30 minutes passed. still there, motionless like statues. James, always observant, began to feel an odd chill, like he was being watched by something unseen. He used the excuse of wiping tables to approach. "Evening, folks? Can I get you anything?" No reply. Then the man slowly turned his head, so slow it was almost mechanical. His eyes were like ice. He shook his head once. Just once. No words. The woman kept staring at the wall. Behind the bar, James poured himself a cold glass of water, trying to chase away the strange chill crawling up his spine. He turned to his coworker, Ellie. "Did you see that couple over there?" Ellie blinked. "What couple?" He pointed toward the far corner. "Booth 12. She frowned. "Are you okay? Booth 12's been empty all night." James spun around. Empty, but he'd seen them, clear as day. He could recall the exact folds in the woman's shawl. Trying to stay calm, James went back to work. But small things started happening. The light above booth 12 flickered erratically. The temperature in that area dropped lower than the rest of the room. One woman at a nearby table leaned in and asked James, "Is this a costume gig? That elderly couple over there? They look so real?" James froze. No one else could see them. Later, after his shift, James checked the security cameras. No one had entered the front door during that time slot. Yet the footage showed blurry motion at booth 12, like figures caught in fog. Disturbed, James started digging. He asked the former manager. He searched the archives. And then he found it. A yellowed newspaper clipping. Elderly couple killed in car crash outside local restaurant 1983. They had just finished dinner inside. Husband died with a smile on his face. Wife died instantly, still holding the menu. James stared in silence. Booth 12. From that night on, James felt their gaze from the corner, even when booth 12 was empty. Once, while clearing a table, he found a vintage handkerchief with lace trim, embroidered with the letter L. No one claimed it. He locked it in the drawer behind the bar. That night, it vanished. On a stormy night, James was working the shift alone. At 2:13 a.m., the lights flickered. The bar was empty, but from booth 12 came a whisper. He walked over. The booth was empty, except for an old worn menu lying on the table, the kind they stopped using a decade ago, scrawled on the paper in faded black ink. "We never left. If someone sees us, we return." James quit a month later, but every night since, he dreams the same dream: an empty bar, spoons clinking softly, faint laughter, and the couple always sitting in booth 12. In those dreams, the man always turns to look at James. In his eyes, something bottomless. Then he smiles. Gentle, almost affectionate. "Thank you for seeing us. Now, you're part of this place." They say you're safe once the story ends, but the woman in the hallway still returns at 3:12 a.m. The booth by the window still feels colder than the rest, and the man with hollow eyes, he's still watching, waiting for someone to see him again. If you enjoyed these stories, leave a comment below and tell us which one haunted you the most. Don't forget to subscribe to Nightmare Narratives and hit the bell before something else does it for you. Until next time, keep your doors locked and your mind is open.